Snails with no shells is where you need to be. Available on all digital platforms, Facebook and YouTube. Snails with no shells. Leave that shell at the door. Where did we go wrong? We were doing so.
My interpretation. Get your copy today.
Greetings, beautiful ones. I am Ms. BJ Martin, and this is Snails with No Shells. Leave that shell at the door. That is my only rule. It's okay to be a slug for a little while, I promise you. All right, now we're going to get into it. I have a beautiful guest joining me this evening. I'm excited to share her all with you. I can't keep her all to myself, but here we go. Bring her on out. The beautiful, lovely elder evangelist Aileen Hill.
Good evening, good morning, afternoon, hello.
Wherever you are, yes. Hi, how are you?
I am great. Happy fast.
See you, same to you. All right, so Aileen, is it okay if I call you Aileen?
Yes. I mean,
okay.
Even though my title is elder evangelist, but hey, Aileen.
Okay. Aileen, where were you born and raised?
Well, I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, South Bronx. Trust me, there's nothing bad about me. Don't believe the hype about the South Bronx. But yes, I'm a native New Yorker, like the song. Been educated in the New York City public school system from elementary, junior high, high school. My high school was Jane Addams Vocational High School. My vocation was nursing. Of course, I did not do well in terms of grades, but yet I applied for different colleges, which I was accepted to Syracuse University, 5.5 hours drive to New York City. And my goal was to still stay in the science. So I wanted to be a biology major in terms of helping to find cure, like for cancer or for these rare diseases. Then, of course, AIDS epidemic started to happen. And my advisor said, well, you're having a hard time passing chemistry. If you cannot pass regular chemistry, how can you do inorganic chemistry, physics, calculus? I mean, the list went on, and I like, okay, I get the message. So the sciences may not have been happening in college, where I love the sciences from elementary, junior high, high school. All of a sudden, it's like, what just happened to my
Are you ready to share your story with the world? Well, Snails with No Shells is where you need to be. Available on all digital platforms, Facebook and YouTube. Snails with No Shells. Leave that shell at the door. Where did we go wrong? We were doing so.
My interpretation. Get your copy today.
Greetings, beautiful ones. I am Ms. BJ Martin, and this is Snails with No Shells. Leave that shell at the door. That is my only rule. It's okay to be a slug for a little while, I promise you. All right, and we're going to get into it. I have a beautiful guest joining me this evening. I'm excited to share her all with you. I can't keep her all to myself, but here we go. Bring her on out. The beautiful, lovely elder evangelist Aileen Hill.
Good evening, good morning, afternoon. Hello.
Wherever you are,
Yes,
yes. Hi, how are you?
I am great. Happy fast.
Same to you. All right. So Aileen, is it okay if I call you Aileen?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean,
Okay.
even though my title's Elder Evangelist, but hey, Aileen.
Okay. Aileen, where were you born and raised?
Well, I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, South Bronx. Trust me, there's nothing bad about me. Don't believe the hype about the
Don't be-
South Bronx. But yes, I'm a native New Yorker, like the song. Been educated in the New York City public school system from elementary, junior high, high school. My high school was Jane Addams Vocational High School. My vocation was nursing. Of course, I did not do well in terms of grades, but yet I applied for different colleges, which I was accepted to Syracuse University, 5.5 hours drive to
Wow.
New York City. And my goal was to still stay in the science. So I wanted to be a biology major in terms of helping to find cure, like for cancer or for these rare diseases. Then, of course, AIDS epidemic started to happen. And my advisor said, well, you're having a hard time passing chemistry. If you cannot pass regular chemistry, how can you do inorganic chemistry, physics, calculus? I mean, the list went on, and I
Mm.
like, okay, I get the message. So the sciences may not have been happening in college where I love the sciences from elementary, junior high, high school. All of a sudden, it's like, what just happened to my world in the science? Same with the math. What has happened to my world in the math?
Oh,
I thought, well, let me be a psychology, maybe to help people, maybe counseling. And that didn't work out due to my grades. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute now. I'm here at this nice institution. And of course, besides the grants, of course, I have student loan, and my mother did not send me here just not to major in anything and to get low grades. And all of a sudden, I just had an interest in classical music and opera, the thing that I hated when I grew up in New York City. My mother loved classical music. She loved opera. And I'm like, oh no, it has to be R&B, it has to be jazz. And all of a sudden, I was able to study. I was able to feel comfort. And I said, oh, let me major in music history, which a minor in art history. So then I graduated with a bachelor's of art in fine
mhm.
art. So it's not drawing or painting. That's the designation that the college had, fine arts and music history, art history. Of course, I have friends like, what are you going to do with this major? Of course, it's not a
Mhm.
major like accounting or
Mhm.
nursing or education and so forth. And the first thing that came out of my mouth is, I'm going to teach. I mean, I just said it because I felt like, well, why not major in something that unfortunately a few of us, especially those who look like me or us, that
Right.
we need to become educated. Like I'm sure there are people who made contribution in art history as well as music history. Yes, I know about Beethoven and Tchaikovsky and Mozart, and then art history, Rembrandt and the others, Van Gogh. But then I wanted to further that cause, of course, applying for colleges that have the art history, music history. I stumbled upon arts administration. I'm like, oh, this is different. What it is about arts administration? Well, it's about management in the arts, the political side of the arts, social,
Wow.
fundraising, grant proposal writing. And
Mhm.
I applied to Drexel University, which is in Philadelphia, and I was accepted in 1990. Hence, I left New York City, going to Philadelphia, and majored in arts administration at Drexel University. Received a Master of Science in that major. Worked for nonprofit arts and culture organization. I was
Mhm.
also an arts intern for the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. So I got to really know the nuts and bolts in arts and culture, statewide, national-wide, grants, the National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts, the Pennsylvania Council of Humanities, foundations, corporation. How can we write these grants to have our organizations get the funding for the programs? And one thing, the organization I work for two. I work for Freedom Theater, which is an African American Black theater, and I was there for a while until unfortunately they had to, lay some people off, which I was one of them. And another organization I work for is the Minority Art Resource Council. And the founder and director mentioned that I want to be sustainable. It's one thing to write grants and to get the money, but I want to become sustainable, that I don't have to keep going to these same foundations and corporation and businesses, like, with your $500, with your $100,000 to help for our program or operations, that we can sustain our organization, to do programming, and to pay the staff and so forth. And I really understand that as the more I kept writing grants, the more I was looking at grants that were quarterly or biannually or once a year. If you missed that, you got to wait the whole entire year. And that's what's like, okay, now I see why sustainability. If I miss that grant, especially once a year, I have to wait a whole nother year for that. So it was more of having a calendar in a glance of who's next, who's due in 2 months from now, who's due in 3 months from now. So that was that. And of course, I got my master's in the experience, and of course, applying for jobs, I can get more of a higher pay. You get to think, well, you're overqualified. Now, here's the rat race. I received my bachelor's, then it's like, where's your master's? Where's your PhD? Where's the experience? Well, I received my master's. I have the experience. Now you're going to tell me I'm overqualified in the position that I've been doing for working for a nonprofit arts and culture organization. That time, I think from 1990 to 99, it's been like a good 9 years, and I just took a step back from it. I still would help those who need help in the management aspect, the fundraising, the grant proposal writing, but I just needed to take a step back and do what I normally did since, I guess high school, administrative. I more did a lot of administrative, secretary, receptionist. I've done it all. And then this program came about from the school district of Philadelphia about being a education, like an intern. And I was interviewed, and they mentioned, well, you need to be certified to get into this program. I'm like, I wish you would have told me. I would find, like, tell me the exams, I would apply myself. Yet I didn't get the position, but because of my interview skills, and they really were impressed. In 2004, I received a letter about this program, which is the transition support tutor. The goal is to become middle school teachers. So and I was like, oh my goodness, because of this interview, the fact that I didn't give up of this other position that didn't work out because they want to see the certification. The program was for 2 years, and there was two universities that partnered with the Philadelphia School District of Philadelphia. It was Arcadia University, which I went to, and St. Joseph University, and also the Philadelphia Education Fund. They were the organization that pulled us together to say, hey, we need middle school teachers. Here's the graphics. Everybody here wants to be elementary. Everybody here wants to be high school. Who wants to deal with fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders, eighth graders, because of the changes and all this sort. But my thing is like this. I said, if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? See, my thing is like, I'm from the hood. I'm from New York City. You don't scare me. I'm sorry. don't let this face
from the boogie down. The boogie.
And and the challenge was these exams, especially in the state of Pennsylvania. And in order for middle school, you have to go elementary route. Elementary, you need 5 exams to pass to get your elementary certification. Once you're in the door, while you're teaching for 2 to 3 years, work on your middle school. So my middle school focus would have been English language art, because I have a passion for reading and writing, especially as a transition support tutor. I dealt with the guided reading. It's sad that you're an 8th grader and you're reading at a 2nd grade reading level or a 5th grade reading level. Like, what has happened? I can tell you what happened. We are passing them along as much as former President George Bush Jr.,
Mhm.
No Child Left Behind, I
Right.
do get it. You don't want anyone left behind. Not so much get left back to a grade level, but left back and lacking the skills to reading and writing and math and
Mhm.
so forth. And so we were given the tools to help the students to comprehend these reading assignments. Of course, when you have the state standards, I know you don't want to read something about butterflies or read something about medieval times and so forth, and your eyes will pop up if you read something about LeBron James or
Right.
a favorite athlete or a Beyonce. Oh yeah, I'm going to read this, but it's not the story, it's the strategy. And one of the strategies was question, answer, response, QAR. What it is look at the questions, look at the answers, and then go back. Because if you look at the question with the four multiple choices, you will most likely, it will cut your time and read it and study. You read, then you go to the question and you go back, and things are time. You don't have time enough. And
Right.
besides giving that strategy to them, I applied myself, especially taking these exams and
Mhm.
especially doing the writing exams or the math exams, which is the first three, which is reading, writing, math for the praxis. The reading was like, okay, I need 2 points to pass. I need 2 more points. I missed about 1 point. I said, okay, this is crazy. I gotta find a way to pass this exam. So
Mhm.
I was told to find another book to really help me study, and I really applied it, and especially the QAR. I went to the question first with the four answers. I scanned it, time to do it. Then I'm like, oh yeah. So my thing is, I want to try it myself. It's one thing I can tell the students, but I'm going to be my own example. If I can do it, you can do it. And a lot of
Right.
students said this has helped in terms of time management, as well as just going back and forth and missing a couple of questions or keep, filling out answers you hope is the right answer. And
Mhm.
of course, things didn't work out. Instead of a 2 year program, as so they said a year, and we're like, well, wait a minute, you said this in your writing. And of course, they said, well, we can write whatever we want to write. And I'm like, okay, that's why some people feel some kind of way about the school district, but I will digress.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
said, well, you know what? I'm going to market myself. I'm still going to continue focusing on Pennsylvania, but why not New Jersey, who only asks for one exam?
Mm.
I passed the exam. Okay, I'm ready to work for New Jersey. Of course, there were funds that they asked, which, of course, if you're dealing with rent, electric bill, gas bill, water bill, um, uh, payment on your car, and so forth. It's like I would literally have to save in order to get into the system. Whereas I marketed myself in Delaware,
Mhm.
and which all I had to do was transfer my practice scores, have recommendations, have transcripts, and so forth. Less cost effective. I'm in the door, going through job fairs and so forth, and I got hired at a charter school. Now,
Okay.
being hired at a charter school, there was a principal who was not quite patient in my public speaking. Hence, that's where I'm going to lead up to the chapter of the OWN IT Anthology. Because guess what? If those of you who don't know, myself and BJ, yes, we're the #1 best-selling authors on Amazon. And
Yes.
his conversation was more like your speech sounded muffled and ruffled, like you're mumbling and so forth.
Uh,
And that really affected me because I mentioned I plan to join a group called Toastmasters. At that time, I was visiting different Toastmaster group, whether the lunchtime or the evening. Haven't
mhm.
decided who I'm going to join first, but I just wanted to get an understanding. What is Toastmasters? What is this group that helps with public speaking? Because I thought, well, maybe it is. I need to deal with that. And unfortunately, that job didn't last long. I was hoping it would last a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the principal wasn't patient. I remember a staff said the principal would like to talk to me and mentioned, well, sorry,
Mhm.
And so I had to literally pack up that same day. And of course, that job was so lucrative. I mean, to me, lucrative saying of a good salary, because prior to that I had salary that were like in the low 20-25K, working in a non-profit arts and culture. That's why I had to take a step back, because I know what I'm worth more than 20K,
Yes.
25K. Of course, I'm thankful for the money because I know who my source is coming from. I mean, what I
Absolutely.
get, so but I just know I'm worth more than that. And I figured having that job was like, man, this is even more than my 20 and 25K working in a nonprofit arts and culture sector, but then now working at temp agency, substitute teacher agency to this job, not coming back. I was like at a point of depression, despondency, and so forth. And then I told my pastor what has happened and so forth. Then he called back and then he was saying, like, Aileen or Elder Aileen, just pick yourself up. Maybe this job is not meant for you. You can't stay there. You know the word of God. Get rooted and grounded. That's when it just sparked to say that, you know what, I should know better. Being a person of faith, loving God, and so forth.
Mm.
It's like, man, this is the job. I mean, how can I lose a job over public speaking?
Right.
And yet it just like, I thought about it and I thought about, said, okay, God, I have to be rooted and grounded in every area of my life, not just, finance, which it is, and my spirituality, but also my finances and so forth. So that's where they came from. I based it on the scripture, especially.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't want to talk about it yet. That's
sorry.
That's
Okay.
that's okay. That's the juicy part. So we're talking about her chapter, Elder Evangelist Eileen's beautiful chapter in the OWN IT Anthology. We don't want to talk about that just yet. Okay. We want to
Okay.
that. Yes. I do want to go back.
Go ahead.
Briefly. So man, you've done a lot. You've done a lot over the years. Wow, you've accomplished a lot, and apparently God had other plans for you because nothing was working out. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I know this is it, but a lot of times, God let us know, like, no, you depending on this job, or you depending on, it's a good paying job, or you depend on these things. No, you depend on me. I have the last word. I get God, whatever you call them, Allah, spirit, whatever you want to call them, they're going to make sure that they get the credit for what they did for you, not the job. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So let's go back. So you wound up being a middle school teacher. Now, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Really, a nurse.
Okay.
I really wanted to, again, nursing, to care for people and so forth. And as I mentioned, just the grades were not happening. It happened in junior year, but it became my senior year. It's just like, 1 + 1 = 2. It was not happening. I felt like, why does 1 + 1 I feel like now it's 3. It shouldn't be. It's like things should have connect together. I studied, I was up all night, but seemed like I was not getting the grades. So the goal is you have to have a 75 and above, in the nursing program at my high school. And I was doing well. I had a couple of 80s, but the majority of my scores were like 70, 71, 65. Of course, 65 is passing. But when you want to be in a program, especially, you have to stay at 75 to, be in a program, then prepare yourself to become a licensed practical nurse and to study. It just was like, somehow I was like, why can't I get it? I have a passion for it, but somehow it just, the grades were not there for me. I mean, it was there for me to graduate, but not there for that type of program. Because in our vocational school, we have business, nursing, and cosmetology. And I could have done business, learn how to do stenography. My mom said, like, everybody can do that. Then cosmetology, like, okay, everybody can do hair. So it's like, also my mom influenced me in nursing as well. It wasn't like I don't want to do nursing, but it was just that there was a nursing shortage, probably still true today. But the thing is that if I can help somebody, I can be a licensed practical nurse, and then moving forward, then looking to RN, registered nurse, and so forth. So my heart was like really in nursing. Yes, I had to do the needle, had to do like to pretend, and to actually had to give a needle to somebody at a hospital. We had to do clinical work, and I was like, okay,
I'm good.
I'm like, yeah.
It was real in the field then.
Oh yeah, it was real.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So you wanted to be a nurse, and you did. You gave it a shot. That's dope. I like that. That is. And so you wound up going to the nurse, then being a middle school teacher. So you've always been helping. You've been helping. Everything that you do, you helping somebody.
That's true.
Definitely is in your spirit to serve. I could tell. And especially, like I said, middle school kids. That's a whole nother show. Talk about schools and the reading skill, because I've tutored some students in reading, and I was just really surprised at the
Right.
I had a fifth grader on the level of a first grade, second grade
Oh
reader, and
my
I'm like,
goodness.
yeah. So I was like,
Wow.
yeah, okay, yeah, something's going on, something's lacking,
Yeah.
not just in Pennsylvania. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. I got
Something's
you.
lacking all over, So,
Hmm.
but again, that's like I said, that's another show, education show in itself. So, yeah, wow. So, how did you? Acquire, and we're gonna get to that on it because we're gonna I'm gonna
That's
ask you
fine.
this last question. We're
That's
gonna go to a commercial break. I gotta give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode of Snails and No Shells.
gotcha.
So how did you, man, you know what? I got so many questions I want to ask because I'm like, even the grant, like the grant writing, that's important. That's an important
Hmm.
topic. So let's talk about that just briefly, like
Gotcha.
the grant, like what's the process of a grant? Because I know she was like, if you got a year to apply, like what, if you can kind of like sum it up.
I got you. Well, again, different corporations, really, yeah, foundations will have some time limit. So, of course, if we apply for the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, they give you two timetables. You have a fall and then you have a spring. You
Mm-hmm.
have the National Endowment for the Arts, depending on the discipline, the art discipline. There are so many different disciplines in the National Endowment for Arts: dance, theater, music, visual arts, multidisciplinary. So you have to choose which is the project that you're going to focus, especially it's a federal grant. So of course, once you get the award, you have to be accountable and you have to do an end of the program, like they want to have a report. What have you done with your money? Not so much federal, if you did the state, same thing. If it's the foundation, for example, the Philadelphia Foundation, the William Penn Foundation, the Pew Charitable Trust. Those are the grants I know in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm sure there's others in the state of Pennsylvania as well, wherever those who are looking at this program of these different foundations, corporations, and they have a criteria of what are they looking for in terms of hopefully you will get this grant money. Now, some things they'll say we'll give you up to 5,000. Some will leave you open ended. For example, with the Minority Resource Council, we're trying to have a operating budget, an annual operating budget. So our goal is $100,000 for 3 years, meaning we can divide that up. That way, the staff can get paid. We can do the programs such as visual arts, uh, a festival, uh, some technical assistance, do some seminars. So again, we try to hit heavy on these big foundations that we know can give the money. We see the study, but then there's the backside where you hear people say you get tired of these foundations that will nickel and dime you, meaning that you see this organization get this money. How come we're getting this money, but yet you had to put on a smile? Thank you so much for this money. We were looking forward to $100,000, but we're grateful for the $50,000. That means you have to start cutting some things. You have to start, what adjustments can you make that now you
Mm-hmm.
were so looking forward to this money, but now it's
Right.
like you're either going to get less or you're not going to get anything. So you have to
Okay.
give them the pro, like, this is the benefit of you supporting this initiative. This is the con. What happens if we don't get the support? This is who's going to get left out. So let's say, for example, BJ has a grant to help tutor youth or so forth. With this money, I can acquire 10 students to come free of charge. They may not have the money. I could charge $25 or $50, but with this, I'm going to select these 10. I would like to do more to get this to be in my reading program or my tutoring program. Without your money, I'm going to have to charge the money. I'm going to have to make a charge or make some adjustments to make sure it's affordable, not for the child, but for the parent. So these are things you have to look into in all the grant proposal writing and so forth. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we had to do. I mean, especially depending on your discipline. We as an arts and culture organization cannot go to a science foundation unless we do something like arts and science. I mean,
Right.
thinking outside the box. So of course, if everything is not focusing on our discipline, it doesn't make sense to waste your time to write this grant on this foundation corporation that's only totally for science or totally for computers or so forth. But like I said, unless you can say there's a reason we should partner with this, there's a reason we can make this work. But again, you have to read the guidelines, read the criteria. Of course, there's a deadline. Some are open-ended, like just send. And those are the best ones. It's like there's no deadline. So you just can send it and they can give you a letter of thank you very much. We are overwhelmed with so many requests and we cannot grant you anything at this time. You're going to get that as well. But the thing is, you have to brush it off and say, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. We're still going to apply for another grant elsewhere. Or again, if you have those that are time limit, you have to set a time, you have to sit down, write it, maybe have another eye to look at it, especially the deadline. If it's postmarked, just long you get it to that post office before it's closed, they have to accept the postmarker. So let's say there's a grant due tomorrow. If I went today, if it's postmarked, they have to honor that. So that's another thing that I love, that you can, they will accept postmarks. So like now these days you can do things electronically. I doubt if you probably still can mail in your grant application, but now most are doing electronically by email and so forth. But the thing is, you have to, the nomenclature, you have to cross your T's and dot your I's. You know what you want in your program. You know what you're hoping they will fund you with. Would you like to get that money? Yes, you may get it. They may say we're going to honor you, but we have to, like, for example, we did a children's art camp and we always ask for $5,000. Every year we get $1,000, not once, not twice, but 3 times. By then my director said, forget it. And I'm like, well, let's keep going. But I guess he realized, like, why are we still going to the same people for this? We asking for 5,000 and they're giving us $1,000. I'm like, to me, it's like, well, anything is better than, anything is better than nothing. And it's unfortunate, but I see his deposition. It was more of, I feel like here go this other organization. They got $3,000 and we're still getting right. I guess to him, it's like we're still getting crumbs. To me, I look at it as, well, it's $1,000, but it doesn't take more to do what you wanted to do for this children's art camp. So it's like you have to dig deep, what we have to cut, what we cannot do. How can we invite guest artists to help children learn different discipline in our art camp? And so again, grant proposal, it's a lot. It's so much involvement.
Yeah, I see. Wow. And wow, you know what? And when you just said that, when he was like, no, like, you're like, well, something's better than nothing. And and a lot of us, we think that way. That's how we live our lives. Something is better than nothing, and sometimes we wind up settling. You know what I'm saying? And that's not honoring your worth and value. Just saying, well, something is better than nothing. You're right. Y'all were getting crumbed, and he knew that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, that I just thought about that, kind of sparked something in me when you said that. Let's think about that, ladies and gentlemen. When you say something is better than nothing, what are you really saying about yourself? Right? What are you saying? If I get a little something, that's cool. And sometimes a little something it ain't gonna fill you up. You still hungry.
That's true.
Yeah. So this is good stuff. This is an amazing conversation. I love it. And Aileen, I see Aileen, boy. Oh, I see why you speaking. Okay, so we're gonna pause on that. Yes, we're gonna take a pause. We're gonna give a shout out. Go take a brief break and give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode of Snails and No Shells. Be right back. We are back. We are back. I'm talking to the amazing Aileen Hill. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to watch the replay because she has done so much grant writing, nurse, middle school teacher. She's an evangelist. So, you know, she's in the church heavy. You know, she is, and she's a best-selling #1 Amazon author, right? Woo woo!
That's
Just
right.
to add to the multiple things that she's accomplishments that she's had in her life. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so now let's get into it. Let's talk about your chapter in this amazing anthology that and there are 57 authors in this book, ladies and gentlemen. 57 authors. This is the Own It Anthology. Y'all need to pick it up. Not only is it an anthology of the book, but it's an anthology. It comes with a journal as well. We have the book and the journal. So we have 57 authors who submitted journaling prompts and everything for you. It's amazing. It's amazing. I never could imagine it. When I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is totally different. But yeah, so let's talk about it. What is your chapter about?
As I mentioned, my chapter is Rooted and Grounded. And as I mentioned, this was inspired by my pastor, Dwaine Ross of Divine Destiny Community Fellowship. Got to give a shout out just in case.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, working at a charter school in the state of Delaware City, Wilmington, I mentioned to the principal that I was planning to join a Toastmaster group since the fact you mentioned my speech sounded muffled or so forth. And one thing I like how Marissa, our friend, had mentioned that you would think someone will help you with guiding you to certain things if you feel my speech has an impediment or trying to get my words together. There should have been some type of advice or guidance. Other than that, then here I am at a teaching position again, fifth graders. Again, their level are not to the extent what it should be, and yet not having the patience for me had to let me go. And again, having different temp jobs, agency job, again, being an arts and culture, again, the salary, the 20K, the 25K. Again, I'm grateful, but I know what my worth is. Then taking a step back, then being in the education sector to now finally getting in a charter school that pays good money to now get back to, here we go again, temp agencies, substitute, got to pay the bills. And yet to have for me to be in despondency or almost fall into a depression, I should know better. But that's how I felt. I felt like, well, wait a minute. Am I worth anything? It's like, you're not giving me a chance to at least join a group or so forth. And that's when my pastor mentioned, don't stay in the dump. God has more for you. Maybe this is not your assignment or this job is not for you. Just get rooted and grounded. And that sparked for me to get up. It's like, okay, I might have been knocked down in terms of I'm back to working in the employment agency or substitute agency. And I just want to say to everyone, I'm not trying to put shame. I mean, if it's there for you to work. Because to me, when I work and I get paid, that's my seed. When in terms of giving God his first. And that's one thing I said, that's non-negotiation. No matter what my salary is or my gross is, I want to make sure God get his 10%. And I have to handle the 90, even if I have the budget, but I had to make sure of that. And then also looking for a Toastmasters group, not just for the principal's sake, even though that was like, yeah, how you like me now, like watch me. But it's like, no, do it for yourself. Do it because this is something you need to do. It's not going to matter whether, he sees you years from now. Oh, she's in Toastmasters. Oh, she's in different contests. Wow, she served her club as an officer. She served her district. I mean, all that, whether it matters, it doesn't matter. The fact is, I'm doing this for myself, not for public speaking, but for leadership. And at the time we had the manuals, and it was 10 speech projects I had to do. And by the time I got to the third project, I felt like, okay, I'm ready to put this to a test at a school I was substituting and so forth. I followed what the guidelines asked me of the projects I had to do. And I realized It's the students. It's not me. I'm
Mhm.
thinking all this time because you're saying, well, my speech is muffled and so forth. That's why I didn't want to mention the name of the charter school. I didn't want to mention anything. Not like I don't want
Mhm.
no lawsuits or anything. But the fact is, this happened to me. Yes, I woke up early to get to Wilmington, Delaware. It's not like around the corner. It's a drive. Even
Mhm.
having an ear infection, not knowing I had an ear infection, but yet because I'm coming for the kids. I'm not coming for
Right.
nobody else before the kids and so forth. I mean, they finally warming up to me, and then you're telling me, we're gonna move on. But yet it's like, okay, you're telling me to move on, but then as my pastor to get rooted and grounded, that's God telling me, I need you to move on. I need you to, go forward. Don't, yes, do what you have to do. Being part of, substitute, then I had a job working for another a company with after school program and summer camp and so forth. And that was lucrative, and until me living here in South Carolina, as I mentioned, taking care of my mother. But the fact that I still continue my passion of making sure students get to learn to read, get to have fun, have engaging activities, doing a reading rainbow, do whatever that needs to be done to read by fourth. We would do for Philadelphia to make sure our children can read at in the level of fourth grade, the level books and so forth. And I've done all that, and yet
Mhm.
still continue with Toastmasters, still developing my public speaking, but more to that leadership. So it was
Yes.
like I'm growing, and it's more like it's not so much more of your public speaking, even though that was unfortunately his saying that to me. It was more
Mhm.
of you need to grow in this. You need to be more comfortable in your public speaking and your leadership, being involved in contests, whether you win or not. I mean, I
Mhm.
came in second place at other contests, and for District 38, we just had a tall tales contest and something new. I went something out of the box because I've done all the contests that I could have done under District 38 in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. Now, when it had tall tales, like what is tall tales? So I gotta, for 3 to 5 minutes, do a story that sounds too good to be true and so forth. Even though I came in second place, it was something that I said, I gotta venture outside the box to try something new. Same thing as here in South Carolina, District 58, I came in third place last year for the humorous speech contest. And that's this farthest. I said, wow, I finally won a district contest, but really I came in third place. But the
Mhm.
fact that it's like, wow, if I get the information, which people gave me feedback, I said, we love your speech, how you did, and you keep, growing and take the feedback and the critique, not in a bad way, but in a good way, you could
Mhm.
probably place more in second or first place. And I said, okay, that's fine. Because I just did a humorous speech and I talked about humor meds and here go this box and, buy this and here go to laugh. I just did everything to make it humorous. But then now
Mhm.
here go my colleagues, I love your speech. And this is how you can make it grow further. And so that's one
Yeah.
thing I love about being part of Toastmaster International, and which I'm a dual member of Shaw Afterburners here in South Carolina, as well as Northeast Philly Toastmaster in
Mhm.
Philadelphia. That's the first club I have joined in February of 2012, and still continue to be part of the club with the wonderful world of Zoom now because of
Right.
the COVID. We are not allowed to be back in a facility because we were using a hospital. So now the next step for those I said, hey, you need to look into another facility. In the event they're not going to let us in, they're not saying we can't, but we're considered a third party. We
Mhm.
don't, they, of course, they don't be liable, God forbid, with COVID. And of course, after COVID, RSV, the flu, monkeypox. I mean, we're hearing this in the news, but the fact is, we have to make it work on a virtual platform. Do we want to
Mhm.
be in person? Yes. And I have those who were part of our group, like, I want to be in person. So you find a facility.
Mhm.
I don't want to join or renew my membership. And that's fine. I get it. I want to be in person too. But
Right.
I plan to use this platform because
Right.
it takes you all over.
Yes.
So I love what I do. Of course, like Marissa was part of our group, and as I mentioned, she finished before I did in terms of getting her distinguished Toastmaster. What it is, it's the highest award following the projects and the program that Toastmaster International asks you to do. I mean, she did all her projects, her speeches, her leadership. She served as an area director. She started a group in Plainsville, New Jersey. We did the youth leadership program. I mean, she was hungry, and that's
Mhm.
why I made the joke to her. I said, "Oh, you finished before me. I better hurry up." Especially now we're in pathways, which is 11 different paths in terms of career or continue public speaking. You might want to do effective coaching,
Mhm.
motivational strategies. When
Mhm.
I started Pathways, I did presentation mastery, which is similar to when I was doing with the manuals and so forth. Then my second path is visionary communication. What vision do I have for myself, for my club, for, let's say for my church ministry? Like I like to have visions. So it's like, how can you communicate a vision? So those are my two paths for Northeast Philly Toastmasters. Here in South Carolina, I took a path in engaging humor. That one they gave away for free because of the pandemic. And I said that was one of the paths. I really don't want to pay money for it. Like, how can I be funny? But now I'm learning to add humor to my
Mhm.
speeches and so forth. I would never think of doing that. And so, again, it's just knowing what path you want to take. And I think that's the good thing they started to do with Toastmaster International,
Mhm.
that, besides these manuals that you're like, oh my goodness, you about to turn a sour face. Like, I'd rather have something that's going to cater to my career, to my
Mhm.
business. Then here go the pathways. Just choose your path and work with it.
Nice. Wow. I didn't know so much was going on with Toastmasters. Wow. That's awesome, Eileen.
Yeah.
It is. Well, congratulations. You are doing it. And isn't it amazing how the older the older get, like it's like
Hmm.
the more you grow, it's like it's a never ending. It's not you just keep growing and growing and learning and growing, and apparently God is like, yeah, you got to keep going. We got more stuff for you to learn,
Right, right, right.
and grow. I think you're like a life learner. That's me. I always say I'm a life learner. I'm learning forever.
Hmm.
Forever, you know what I'm saying? So that's amazing. And you say the humor, and it's funny because that humor part in your speech, you probably need that right now. You probably need that a
Yes.
lot. You know?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. So you're gonna be in the DR, right?
Yes.
We're gonna be in the DR,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
kicking, having
Yes.
a good time, y'all. And we're gonna have a retreat. The OWN IT Anthology is having a retreat. This was April 26th through the was it 30
The
the
27th through the
31st?
30th of
The
April.
27th through the 30th. I know it's in yeah, in April. We're gonna be in the we're gonna be in the Dominican Republic. We're gonna be celebrating and just honoring each other, and
I'm sorry,
just
BJ. Let me self-correct. I'm saying 27 because that's the day I'm leaving. It's really the 26th. I
the
think.
20. Okay. So if you want to join us in the DR, you can go to TCS Consulting LLC.com. There's still
Hmm.
spaces available. Y'all can come down to the DR and just have a good time with us. I'm excited. I cannot wait. I need
I
this
know that's
break.
right.
And I can't wait to meet all of you all. Like I'm so excited. We've been on these Zooms and StreamYards. Well, it'll be nice to be next to everybody so I can feel your energy. I think it's gonna be amazing. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes,
I
yes, yes.
really am. So, Eileen, I have enjoyed this time. You are totally awesome. If nobody has told you, ma'am, you got it going on.
Thank you, so sweet.
You do,
Oh,
yes. And before we go, is there anything that you are working on or anything outside of promoting this own it anthology book because everybody needs to get it.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. But besides that, I'm looking into the In His Presence, the next anthology for Marissa. I am looking into that as well. Also, I am part of a writers group which is called Straight from His Plate. I was part of that group before joining Toastmasters, and I always wanted to write, just write. And I started doing devotionals. We had a showcase where some of us present drama, poetry. I did my devotionals, and then I started to dab a little bit into fiction. So I have some writings that has been too long on a shelf, let's say, so to speak. So now it's now for my time to really pull these writings out and to showcase that. So it's more of a if inspirational. One is like fiction, but inspirational. The other one is also inspirational, but more of a mystery suspense. And I tell you, when I meet with my writers group this year, it's the accountability. So we meet on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, the teaching tools. Again, straight from this plate. It's on Meetup, so you have to look for that. Tiffany Joyner, my good friend, she spearheaded that group. I met two of her friends at a writing conference in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, which that's how I was introduced to the group. And my goal is in terms of honing into my writing skills, what works, what feedback, what critique. So again, I started more the devotions just to encourage, share, and then also towards the end do a prayer. But now the next level is having a book out. And the goal this year is taking 30 to 45 minutes of finishing the writers. I have the chapters and everything done. It's just more of I need to get this out. It's like it's a baby about to be birthed. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And that's one of the books. And the other one, I said, once I finish this one, the other one I could come back and get that done as well. But also I'm thinking of writing a book, especially with my journey here in South Carolina,
Mhm.
in terms of my mother's dementia, Alzheimer. I
Yes.
have a title in mind, but I don't know if it's I have to really think about it because I don't want people to think like, well, what kind of title is this? But it more reflects of what I'm seeing daily, what I'm
Mhm.
experiencing daily, keeping myself level headed, of course, my faith and so forth. But I will hope that once I'm ready to do this book, it will help those, especially those who have loved ones who's dealing with Alzheimer disease,
Mhm.
dementia, memory
Mhm.
loss, whatever is going on up here. And,
Yeah.
for me personally, I still believe God, to the end. I still believe God is a healer. I still believe, I just believe. I mean, regardless of what I see, But the fact is, like you said, I got to take care of myself, which
Yes.
I am doing. And also my ministry, walking with the Father, because I started it as a walking regiment, which
Mhm.
now became more evolved because of the healthy eating, healthy living. I was told I was diagnosed with diabetes, which nobody in my family has it except my mom, my aunt, which is my mom's twin sister. And yet it's like, oh no, 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 we gonna reverse this. I said
Mhm.
I want to come off of meds and so forth. So I do more than just the walk. I'm at the Y. I'm working out. As I mentioned, I started to take swim lessons again. Got to get it out of here, like in terms of
Mhm.
what is keeping you from swimming or so forth. But the thing is, I had to change my eating, I have to change everything and have a positive perspective. Like, I am gonna come off these meds.
Right.
I am gonna see that I can this is doable. So that way I don't have to worry about these numbers ever creeping up again. So
That's
again,
right.
if I can help anyone, whether you, like I said, walk, jog, walk, Zumba, gym membership, no gym membership, swimming now, the natural trail, do it on purpose. My thing is do things on purpose. And so
Mhm.
walking with the Father is like, not so much exercise, which is one of it, but what are you doing on purpose in terms of your wealth, your education,
Mhm.
family, everything. So same thing, my rooted and grounded, the chapter on the anthology. How are you gonna be rooted and grounded in every aspect of your life?
Right. Awesome. I love it. I love it. And as we both know, whenever there's sacrifice in everything that you do. When you want to get to the next level, when you want Marisa talk about all the time, level up,
Yep,
it's the
yep.
sacrifice in everything that you do in your personal life, your business, whatever it is, there's always sacrifice. So I love it. This has been an amazing conversation. Again, I have enjoyed you so much,
Yeah,
Eileen.
and I don't mind coming back again so we can talk about other stuff that
Oh
we
yeah,
didn't talk
yeah.
about.
Yeah, and definitely, especially concerning the Alzheimer's. Like I told you, I took care of my grandmother. Her last days dealing with it, and yeah, just keep me posted on that project.
I will. I
You know
will.
what I'm saying? Because I don't
Yes,
know, that
ma'am.
might be bigger than just you. Might be one of those big things. So yeah,
Oh,
just keep me. Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. I had an idea when I was sitting here thinking. I was like, that might right. Yes. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we go, I would like to let you all know that I have launched my 90-day coaching program and it's called Enjoy Your Life Now. Yes. And yes, and in this program, I help entrepreneurs and boss owners, or I said boss owners, business. I keep thinking bosses and business owners. I help them manage stress, and reduce anxiety. So that's what I do. That's what I coach. I help them with that. If you know anybody in your network that needs that help, because I know it's a lot being a business owner, it's a lot being an entrepreneur, a lot is resting on your shoulders. If you know anybody that needs some help, they can hit me up. They can go to my website at IamMsBJMartin.com. I'm on Facebook, BJ Martin. They can DM me. I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram, MS_BJ Martin. I'm even on TikTok, Ms. BJ Martin. So it's no excuse. You just get at me. And, if you need that help. And also, before we go, what I would like to say is, remember, just like the sun, you are necessary. I love y'all.
Just my imagination, or is it just insanity for me to constantly care for that deep so